Facebook video from Beer Cartel HQ here in Sydney, Australia. Whatever you've been up to this week, I hope you've had a great week and that you have definitely enjoyed some crafty brews. And if you haven't had a chance this week to enjoy a couple of crafty beers, I hope the weekend, which is only a couple of days away, sets you up for the chance to enjoy a couple of beers. We've had a couple of new beers arrive this week, but I won't go through those. I thought that I'd kind of off the back of last week's video, where I spoke about Oktoberfest and how it's up amongst us now. I thought I'd go into a little bit more depth with regards to Oktoberfest and fill you guys in on some of the fun facts about Oktoberfest. So if you tuned in last week on the video, you would have seen me sitting on a pallet out in our warehouse that had just arrived with some great Oktoberfest beers from Germany, and 5 of the 6 official beers that are I guess consumed and enjoyed at Oktoberfest in Munich, we've actually got in store here. So the first thing is, I wanted to just let you know that as I mentioned, we've got 5 official Oktoberfest beers available, and those 5 we've put into a mix 6-pack, which is this one here sitting right next to me. I'll just take you through what those beers actually are. Like I said, there's one that is an unofficial beer, but it's still a fest beer by Weihenstephan. So the beers that are in the pack that are Oktoberfest beers, so the first one is the Hacker-Shaw. That's their Marzen, the Oktoberfest Marzen. This pack is $39.99, a little bit cheaper than buying them on their own. The Löwenbräu, Oktoberfest, Hofbrau, Paulaner. So these have been selling very, very well, and that pallet that I was sitting on last week is diminishing at a good rate. So if you are interested in getting some Oktoberfest beers, I suggest you either jump online or drop in store, and we can sort you out with some great beers for your Oktoberfest festivities. So they're the 5 official ones that I spoke about. The one brewery that's missing from there is the Augustiner, and I'll talk about that in a little while. But we have made the 6th beer at the moment is the Fest beer from Weihenstephan. So just because these are the official ones doesn't mean that other breweries that are unofficial don't release a beer for Oktoberfest. So they're the beers there that come in the pack. I'll just put those to the side, and we'll put up a link to that pack. But I thought I'd delve a little bit deeper, so I briefly touched on what Oktoberfest is, what the dates actually are, but I thought I'd go into a bit more detail in terms of how it all came about, how long it's been going for, what the beers are, and some interesting facts about the festival. So Oktoberfest, it is probably the world's longest held beer festival. It's held in Munich, which is in Bavaria, which is in the south of Germany, and it's held about the middle of September until the first weekend of October. So while it is called Oktoberfest, it's actually kind of mostly held in September. At the moment, we're right in the middle of it. Last weekend was the first weekend. There's this weekend coming up, and then obviously finishes on the following weekend. There's still quite a lot of stuff that obviously happens in October, because there is, I guess, some misunderstanding that Oktoberfest only ever happens in October. It actually starts in September and finishes on that first weekend of October. It started in, let me get these dates right, on October 12th, 1810. So it's been going for a couple of 100 years. And it was originally organised to celebrate the marriage that happened 5 days prior of Prince Ludwig and the Princess Therese. So they'd gotten married, and then to make a bit of a public festivities and commemoration of their marriage, they decided to have a big festival. That is when Oktoberfest originally started. And as part of those festivals, they actually used to have a horse race, which up until about 1960, the horse race was still being held as part of Oktoberfest. But in in the last sort of 50 odd years, that's not been held. I think occasionally they might sort of reinstigate it and revive the horse race, but it is no longer part of the official ceremony and celebration. As As I said, it's in Germany, in the south of Germany, in Bavaria, in Munich in particular, is where it's held. Interestingly, I've got a foster brother that lives in the north of Germany, in Arnsberg. And when I visited him a couple of years ago in 2013, we were there around October, and I asked him about what's going on with the sort of local festivities in his area, and he said it's really a southern thing. So it's something that the kind of north part of Germany doesn't necessarily get behind or really celebrate. So if you want to celebrate Oktoberfest, you have to go to the south, you have to go to Munich, and you have to go to the Bavarian area of Germany. So that's, interesting thing. I hadn't quite realised that a couple of years ago. I thought the rest of the country kind of got behind it as well. But no, it is a very southern-led festivity. As I mentioned, it was originally started for the marriage of Princess Therese and Prince Ludwig. Interestingly, there's a beer that we often stock and regularly stock. It is called the König Ludwig, and König in German means king. So if you think of it, it is King Ludwig. So it is a beer that is an ode to King Ludwig, and he ended up being King Ludwig the First. So went from Prince to King number one, or Ludwig number one, I should say. Now, I thought it'd be interesting I'll read some of this out because there's some interesting stats with regards to Oktoberfest. It is a very, very large festival, and I think that any other beer festival around the world kind of pales in comparison in terms of the volume of people and everything that kind of goes on at Oktoberfest. So on average, there's approximately 6 million people per year that actually visit Oktoberfest. And if you think of that in Australia's population, that is about half of Australia's adult population visits every year the Oktoberfest festivities in Munich. And in total, there's 14 beer halls that, if they were at full capacity, they can seat or they can accommodate up to 100,000 people. So in one day, the 14 beer halls can accommodate 100,000 people seated. Obviously, people can come and go as they please. And the largest beer hall and tent can accommodate just under 11,000, 10,900. 8,500 of those people can be inside, and 2,500 of those people can be outside. So you imagine 10,000 people in one location, one tent. That is a large one. They've got another 13 tents that accommodate quite a lot of people. So that'll give you a bit of an idea in terms of the scale of Oktoberfest. In terms of actual volumes, so they, in an average year, they'll kind of consume 7 million litres of beer, 80,000 litres of wine, 32,000 litres of sparkling wine, 220 litres of tea, coffee, and 1 million litres of water and lemonade is consumed over the period of the festival, which runs for an average of about 16 days. So think of it about 2 weeks thereabouts, and you get those consumptions. So 7 million litres of beer, 80,000 litres of wine, 32,000 litres of sparkling wine, and 220 litres of tea and coffee. It's quite a lot of liquid to being consumed. Admittedly, there is 6 million people that attend the festival, but it is important to kind of point out that the festival, while it is kind of known around the enjoyment of beer, they actually do celebrate quite a lot of other things, and there's a lot of other activities that are there. So, it's kind of kid-friendly. So you've got things like, you've got festival rides, you've got bands, you've got restaurants, you've got other amusements that are actually there as well. So it's not just solely for just the enjoyment of beer. There's other activities there that you can enjoy if you get the chance to go to Oktoberfest. The official style of Oktoberfest is the Marzen, and probably the one that we sell the most this time of year is the Hacker-Shaw Marzen. So Marzen is a derivative of Mars, which actually means March in German. And the reason for that is that these were originally brewed, this is prior to refrigeration, originally brewed in March, and then kind of lagered away and cellared away, and then enjoyed in the summer months. It is a higher alcohol lager, and it is characterised by that higher alcohol. This one here is 5.8%. So traditionally, like a lager will be 4.5%, 5%, something along those lines. So slightly stronger, and it is got a bit more sweetness and malt to it. So it's got it's a little bit more robust in its flavour compared to a traditional lager. So I expect it to have a nice kind of reddish hue to it. Like I said, that's the most popular one that we sell out of the range that we get that are Oktoberfest beers, and I would highly recommend, if you haven't tried a Marzen, that the Hacker-Shaw Marzen is definitely one to put on the bucket list. Now, in terms of these beers, so I mentioned that we've got 5 of the 6 breweries that are the official breweries of Oktoberfest, and the reason for that is that tradition kind of dictates that unless the beer is brewed within the city limits of Munich, it is not considered to be an official Oktoberfest beer. So these beers here, so you've got Spaten, you've got Paulaner, you've got Hacker-Shaw, you've got Löwenbräu, and you've got the Hofbrau. Those are brewed within the official city limits of Munich, and therefore they can be classified as the official beers of Oktoberfest, and they are served at the Oktoberfest. But you've got other beers like the Fest beer from Weihenstephan, which is not considered as an official beer. So the only brewery that doesn't make it to Australia, we get a lot of inquiries for it, but currently there's no commercial agreements being set up for it to be brought in, and that's from Augustina. So the Augustina beers I have not seen in Australia in commercial quantities. So some people might mule it into Australia in their backpacks, or get their fellow travellers or beer mules or friends and family to bring some back over, but at the moment it is not one that we see readily available in Australia in commercial quantities. So that's a little bit of a background. We do have a couple of blogs on our website that talk about Oktoberfest that we've written over the last couple of years. Some of the stats might be a little bit out on those blog posts, but we will get them updated because they were written 2014, 2015. But if you're interested, they're the beers there. They're the official ones. Obviously, the Fest beer from Weihenstephan is included in the Mix 6-pack that is available in-store and online. Once these kind of sell out, that'll kind of be it until Oktoberfest next year. We get our shipments kind of the middle of September. So yeah, people have been jumping on board. Highly recommend, if you enjoy German beers, these are definitely ones to seek out. And if you'd like to test out your knowledge and see if you picked up a few things during this video, then we do have a beer quiz that we set up just around Oktoberfest. So I think there's about 10 questions. The average at the moment is about 6.5 out of 10. So hopefully if you've watched this video, you might score a little bit higher than that. Like always, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch up with you next week, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Cheers.